Fruits are something that we should all eat, but occasionally we don't for various reasons. However, you might be surprised to learn that there are many fruits in the world that you've probably never even heard of, including ones with unusual shapes, colors, and even tastes. These are the 10 most unusual fruits that you've never heard of. Number 10. The first fruit on the list of unique fruits is the jabuticaba, which comes from Brazil. There's really not much of a deal breaker because of this, because countries like the United States have trade agreements with both Brazil and other South American countries. But the fruit's highly perishable nature is the reason you haven't heard of it or even tasted it. It's grown in countries where it isn't even shipped out. This is because, as we all know, you don't really want to buy a fruit that will rot within a day or two of purchase in case you forget to eat it. Instead, you want something that will at least last for a while. And the jabuticaba doesn't meet that requirement if you're trying to eat it outside of South America. Fortunately, we do know a few things about it, such as what it should taste like, in this case, grapes, which I happen to love. The jabuticaba is also said to have a flowery taste, which makes sense given that the tree this fruit grows from also happens to grow flowers nearby. It's unlikely that you'll be able to go out and get it yourself, but if you're ever in Brazil, look it up. You might like what you taste. Number 9. Next, we travel to Japan in search of the mysterious purple akabe fruit. This fruit will help you understand why it is so strange because, although it appears to have already been broken into and its core exposed, that is how it regularly appears. Originally discovered in the forests next to Japan's mountains, it was long used as a sign that fall was coming because of when it bloomed. Now, there are a few ironic facts about this fruit that should be mentioned, not the least of which is that, despite being a fruit, it's not really that good by itself. You see, Japan has been aware of the fruit for a while, but they don't market it because, to be honest, we already have too many bland things in our lives. The purple akibi isn't very practical in many ways because it has a difficult life in storage, but then something interesting happened. Specifically, someone went and cultivated the fruit so that it became a popular exotic item. The newly recreated purple akibi is now a popular item for tourists and those looking for rare fruit, which puts an interesting twist on the adage one man's trash is another man's treasure. Number 8. This is what's known as a fingered citrus, a type of citrus fruit that differs from other citrus products for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that this is a fruit that only has a rind in it, meaning that there are no seeds, pulp, or juice, so it's not your typical kind of fruit. If you were to go and look at them, you might think that this is either a very messed up fruit or one that's from an alien world because it doesn't look like a typical fruit. The fruit, according to those who are familiar with it, originated in India and was later brought to China by Buddhist monks. This is not at all unusual when you consider that over time, the Buddha's hand gained a very positive reputation, not only for its fragrant smell, but also because it became a symbol. However, what kind of symbol might a fruit really be? One of longevity and happiness. Accept it without question, to the extent that the symbols are utilized as offerings throughout the new lunar year in an effort to increase people's lifespan and happiness. Oh, and here's an interesting fact. Cleaning is required before the fruit can be sold, and because of their form, it can take up to 30 minutes to clean just one of them. Number 7. The people of Southeast Asia consider durian to be a serious fruit, referring to it as the king of fruits. However, what really makes durian the king of fruits is the nutrients it contains. While most fruits are healthy foods because they contain some sort of beneficial nutrient, durian has more nutrients than almost any other fruit. It's not going to be visually appealing to everyone, but the taste seems to make up for it just as much as the size of the fruit, which can get to be about a foot in length and 6 inches wide, so it might just be the king after all. The catch, though, is that while it may be kingly in its state and its taste, it does have a very prickly exterior, which you could argue most kings have. And you can add your own joke to that one. Number 6. Cherimoya is another unusual fruit that you may not have heard of, but after seeing it, you won't be able to forget it because of its shape and skin. In South America, it's known as the custard apple, which sounds pretty good in theory. It's a very special kind of fruit that grows at high altitudes, and its nickname is much more fitting than you may think because, in contrast to more common fruits, where you just take a bite out of them after they've been peeled, you will genuinely go and eat this fruit like it's a pudding. The cherimoya fruit has a fruity flavor that is similar to that of bananas or pineapples, which sounds absolutely delicious. It also has a high nutrient content and is packed with antioxidants, which may improve your mood, something we could all use. It may also help with eye health, which is another benefit. We know you're thinking, this fruit sounds too good to be true, and you're right. Some of these benefits could potentially cause your nervous system to malfunction if you consume too much of it. Number 5. Next up is the mangosteen, which may be appealing to some individuals with particular tastes because it is known to be both sweet and sour, similar to some other fruits I've shown you. This fruit is native to Southeast Asia, but it later spread throughout the world. This is where the mangosteen becomes truly unique because, as you can see, it has a deep purple hue that makes it resemble some other fruit on the market, but when you open it, it has a really special white interior. This is known as the inner flesh, but to be honest, the name kind of freaks me out, so I probably won't use it again. The bad news is that, despite being a fruit that's grown all over the world, it's still fairly obscure, so you won't be able to just pick it up at any old supermarket. If you can, though, you really should try it because it's full of nutrients, fiber, and special antioxidants, all of which can be beneficial to your body. Number 4. Now let me talk about the rambutan fruit, which has a lot of potential for those who want to try it. It's known to be found in countries like Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, which just goes to show where it's popular worldwide. As you've probably noticed, rambutan are a fruit that don't exactly look the nicest. Instead, they're kind of hairy and resemble creatures that may be found in the sea. However, similar to old stories, once you get past the hairy layer, you're going to find a rather sweet treat. In fact, it's a 2-for-1 deal because the insides not only have a section of white fruit to enjoy, but an edible seed for you to snack on as well. Diversification is always appreciated, but they're actually fruit. Ironically, the word rambutan actually means hairy. Furthermore, you can eat them after you peel them without needing to prepare them if you do find one of them in the wild. They are typically red, but can also occasionally be yellow. Number 3. The mamoncillo, also referred to as Spanish limes, is a fruit that is grown in clusters and is known to hang in groups of 12 or more from trees. What makes them interesting to harvest is that instead of taking the clusters, they take the entire branch that the clusters are on, and then they sell the fruit as the cluster. Another benefit of this is that the fruits themselves are not too big, measuring only 3 to 4 centimeters in width. The fruit is actually multi-layered. For instance, the pulp is said to be gelatinous, which I don't really want to imagine, and the fruit part itself actually clings to 2 seeds. You should make sure to get your mamoncillo fresh because it will be extremely sour if you don't, but if you do get it right, that is, ripe, you'll have a sweet treat that tastes a lot like limes. Number 2. And now, let me talk about melons. The best one is probably the watermelon, but if you're looking for something exotic, look no further than the guano. If you do look at it, you might feel a little strange, but some people actually refer to it as the African horned cucumber, which makes sense considering the protrusions that come out of its body. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not going to eat that, but if you can get past the fruit's prickly exterior, you'll discover a fruit that's actually quite healthy. For instance, it contains vitamin A, B6, C, iron, potassium, calcium, and only 92 small calories, making it a healthy fruit. But you still want more? Well, the guano fruit is known to contain a potent amount of antioxidants that can benefit your body and your red blood cell count. Trust me when I say that there's more to the fruit than just that, even though it may seem a little strange. In fact, it's really, really odd, so you should give it a try if you have the opportunity. Number 1. That's right, this is a real banana. The catch is that, in comparison to your typical banana, which is typically long and thin, it is known to be shorter, wider, and slightly thicker. In addition, although you can eat regular bananas without much thought if they aren't ripe, doing so with a red banana will result in you eating essentially starchy food, which nobody wants to eat. That being said, if you wait for it to get ripe and are as patient as you should be, you will discover that it tastes like raspberry and has a really creamy texture. This is not surprising given that it is the most sought-after banana in the world after the standard one and, depending on how you look at it, has slightly more nutritional value than the standard one. And that concludes the fruits from around the world. What did you think of some fruits that you probably had no idea existed? Would you be willing to give any of these a try now that you know, or would you be okay with not even touching them? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'll see you next time.